What is the biggest financial result that you got over the last?
Uh, so I closed two clients in Jan, in like multiple lakhs, which usually would not happen. Firstly, in the same month.
Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Kartika Nair and you're watching Synchro Shakti. Today I have with me a very special guest, a brother from another mother, my friend and my student Rahul George here today to share with all of you his journey with financial success and the journey that he's currently walking spiritually as well because that's affected his financial success. So today I am super proud to bring on stage for all of you my friend and student Rahul George. Welcome.
Hey, good to be
Hey.
here, Kartika.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm really glad to be here and looking forward to
Sharing
getting
big
into.
secrets.
Yes, yes.
Everyone. Superb. So thank you. So I'm just before we even get started with the interview, I will tell you exactly the questions I'm going to ask Rahul, and you can then know exactly where the
Mhm.
answers are going to be. So the very first question, Rahul's life has been like a movie, especially around his success with business. And I followed his journey for quite some time because we studied together in multiple courses with multiple trainers. We've been classmates and we've grown together in that way. So I've seen his journey. So the first question, before you answer, I'll just tell them the questions. I will ask him about his journey, his struggles. Okay. Then I'll ask him about his wins, what successes he had, and then he will tell you exactly how he did it. He will tell you the entire story of how he managed to get success, and then he will give you some advice. Okay. So these are the four things. So we'll start off with the first question. Rahul, tell us about your struggles with money in the past in your business.
Over the last several years, I have devoted my life to honing my craft and not so much in the earning part of it. So it's sort of like how scientists are more about, like, okay, I have to, make this breakthrough and find the cure for dash, whatever that is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of person that I've always been. Having said that, till recently, it was everything but looking at the money. So there's always been that struggle, right? So
Mm,
even if I've come into money, it's been difficult to kind of. It's like I've already got three courses that I know that I want to invest in so that I can be better
mm,
at being able to help people.
mm.
So for me, that has always been the driver. And I would say now, since we're in 22, I would say about the last 2.5 years is where I've, taken a very, very hard U-turn or a left turn or a right turn, however you want to look at it, to make a difference in the way that I think,
Mm.
specifically about money, specifically about, creating wealth and building wealth. So
Right.
for me, that's been the journey.
That's been the journey. So the major struggle for you was that even if you came into money, you were just taking the money and investing back into your studies, but you were not really looking at money to earn, to keep, to grow, to amass, to become
Correct.
financially free. So now in the last 2 years, you've taken that U-turn to really jump into the
And I
money
also want
part.
to add, sorry, I don't mean to cut you. I also want to add one thing here. I've been very, very fortunate that I've lived a very blessed life where whether it came to survival, whether it came to you know I've never had to worry beyond a point about where is my next meal going to come from or any of that stuff, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
while I've been focused on really, you know, being the best that I can be in my field, I've not really focused on the money part of it,
Mm, yeah,
right? So that has always, there's always been that conflict, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'd rather focus on the work
Mm,
and, attracting money or retaining money.
yeah,
So
right.
yeah, that largely has been till around 2019.
2019. So let's come to, so we know your struggles. So what is then the big change that happened in your life since 2019, since you got very focused on money,
Yeah,
money attraction work?
yeah. So, like I said, I've, so just a quick little joke here, right? So, I'm sure, people who are watching this, if you're watching this, somewhere you've heard of LOA or Law of Attraction, right? So, for me, the standing joke was, I did I was there, whatever, 10, 15 years ago when LOA sort of started to become known in certain circles. And my standing joke was the one thing that I got out of LOA was I always got parking space, no matter which city, which country. That was the only thing that really clicked like almost immediately, right? So whether it's in Bangalore, you have Commercial Street or any busy place, if I need parking, I always get it, right? So that was sort of like the one thing that always clicked.
Worked for you.
But that worked for me. But the whole thing about, okay, it's like you have affirmations. There are different ways of attracting money in, and that was one thing that just somehow it never really happened, right? Or it always had a delayed fuse of about 2 years, right? So if I want something, whether it is a certain number of clients or it is being paid a certain fee per hour, that's one of the models, as especially as a coach or a consultant, that's what you aspire for, right? I want to be paid 3,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees or whatever is your number. Usually that had like a delayed fuse of about 2 years, right? So go figure, right?
Yeah.
So having said that, in 2019 was where I really, so let me give you a short little backstory here, right? So 2018 was actually quite a tough year for me, and my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. So we spent the whole of 2018 focusing on, her health and making sure that, she was in a space where she was able to heal. So having had that experience, for me it was literally, that moment to say, okay, now I'm going to, like, I've tried other ways. I've, like they say, if you're really good at something, then everything just kind of should magically, miraculously happen, especially when it comes to money. It's not always the case
Not
for
usually,
everybody.
yeah, but it usually is like
right?
you're really good at something, but you'll keep blocking the money.
Exactly, right? So that's when I said, okay, you know what? I really need to do whatever it takes to make space for this money to come into my life. And so that began the journey, which was 2019. So 2019 was also where we met, and I was very fortunate to work with some really amazing teachers, and it taught me a lot. But more than anything, it was, there is a way of thinking about money, right? Like, to actually be able to call that out for me was like a big, like, whoa, okay, that's possible?
Yeah.
Or is that really something that we do? Because I heard about it in sort of like in bits and pieces over the years, right? So
but you weren't introduced to a space where it was so concentrated knowledge on exactly how to think about money in so many different dimensions. So that kind of collaborated for you together a little later on. So so it started in 2019. Okay.
Yeah. So obviously, 2019, I invested a lot of money in making sure that whatever was being offered, I was doing it to learn so that I could clear out my own blocks, right? So that was 2019. Then of course 2020, where things looked like they would go one direction. It kind of went off on a different spiral. Let's put it that way. Not necessarily a downward spiral. It just kind of like it spiraled out. And obviously 2020, we've all had an experience of 2020, which is, for most of us, it was nothing that we could even have imagined, right? So 2020 and then going into 21 has been literally, there's been a lot of starts and stops, and reflecting along the way. Because again, I don't believe in formulas. At least they don't work for me, right? Like typically, when you join a course, exactly.
And we did a 1-to-1 on this. I think around that time in 2020. Yeah, 2020, and we were looking at like formula work, and like it's like putting a round thing into a square and trying to fit it, and it's like, no, you have to find your own path, right? Yeah.
So I think for me, like I was sharing with you just before we went live, that I think for me the realization is that this is a journey. So for some people, they may have immediate success. They may find immediate success when you join a course, right? I mean, that happens. Like you always hear of, somewhere there's that voice at the back of your head. You're like, oh, why not me? Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah. Others are
what
getting
do I not have? Yeah,
what am I doing
am I
wrong?
getting? What am I doing wrong? Maybe I'm cursed, or maybe it's like I'm getting left behind, and all that
Yes,
typical
yeah.
FOMO stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But the truth is, it's a journey. So, like, I look at literally from where I am right now, I look at like the next 45 years. So, I know that in little ways, when I keep chipping away, it's like they say, there's no such thing as overnight success, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
overnight success that happened over a period of time,
Mm.
right? And there's that one
And
moment.
yeah, yeah, but yeah, it could take there is overnight success if you have aligned yourself, but if your alignment
Exactly,
is so off, which is for most people, it takes a little bit more
exactly.
time to get
Yeah,
yourself to a point where it's like overnight success.
I'm saying once it happens, people around kind of go, "Wow, amazing! I
Yeah,
wish I could have that." But
yeah,
it's sort of like the recipe to make that, and the several many times over
yeah,
attempts and
yeah,
trials and
yeah,
failures of things that
yeah,
didn't work
yeah.
is what not most of us don't know that, or we don't want to even hear about that. But
You're
that's the truth of it, right? We met in 2019, and 2020 we did one-on-one work. I even joined one of your. For me, it was quite a tough drill, because it was like 5 a.m. every morning, 5 days
Aha,
a
the
week, and I
MMMC.
mean, like literally in hindsight, I know that it's like literally you're like this. You would soldier on like every day. It's like day in
I
day in
did
day out,
that
a whole year.
entire
You did a whole year.
2020 that way.
You
Yeah.
did that for a whole year. I think I did about maybe about a month and change, and then I realized that I wasn't aligned at that point. But I know that, yeah. In fact, what struck me was that, and even the course that I did, what began at the end of 21.
4 month
Uh,
abundance. 4 month actually abundance. Yeah.
yeah. So for me, the course began in I attended your webinar in November, and then December was when we started the course. So for me, that kind of the kind of alignment that I found in December of 2021, and now into Jan of 2022, which is what, about just about 2 months ago. That's what I meant when I said earlier that it's a journey. So for some people, just feels like, wow, it's like everything's come together. And my point being that as you're listening to this or you're watching this, that even if it doesn't click, it doesn't mean that you're left out, or that this doesn't work for you. I'm saying, obviously, there's something that I connected with you when we met in 2019, and then that continued on in different ways all the way into now in the present. And for me, that's where the realization is that this is an ongoing process.
I
And
remember, I mean, your journey with abundance, I think being more serious into this abundance thing, I think started slightly before mine. I mean, I was there. I was always working. I've worked a lot on myself, as quite evidence from the. I mean, how many years I started in 2011, but then I went on. I think majorly it was about 2017. Around that time is when I decided to take money, energy very, very, very seriously. But I remember I was still not aligned. Even when we met, my alignment was not perfect.
yes.
And I remember cheaping out as much as possible around the hotels and all that. And we are sitting. I mean, this is the actual story. I actually had money at that time, a lot of money, but cheap as hell. Okay, so I'm not gonna spend on a hotel room that cost, how much was it? It was like 14,000, 12,000 something. We got a discount per night, 12,000 per night. And I'm like, nope, I'm going to the hotel next door, like down the road there, for like 2,000 rupees a night. I'm not spending 12,000 rupees a night, even though I had the money, but I was still like cheap as, not that is wrong, but even though I could spend, I was still holding on to this fear of, oh, I shouldn't spend. But Rahul, on the other hand, got one nice room, and you were sharing it with Dr. Lenny. And I remember seeing
At that point, I wasn't even.
You were not sharing. You on your own, yes. And then we walked past your rooms, and then we walked to and this is in this super like luxury hotel in Mahabalipuram. And we are sitting on the beach, and you picked up the tab for that food that we had at the beach cafe.
Mm.
And you were already practicing, and we were talking about practicing abundance, and you were already practicing. And I'm like, I remember what an impact that had on me sitting on that beach. I still remember we're sitting in this cafe. It's night time, we're sitting on the beach, it's like completely pitch black, and you hear the ocean sounds. Very firstly magical, because we were having this great conversation, and Apurva was also there. And I'm thinking, we were talking about practicing abundance, already acting as though we have the money. And I was like remembering, I'm like, this guy's already booked place here and he's picking up the bill. What am I doing around my abundance? Because I was like, had money, but still so cheap. But that actually sparked off this thing, that I worked on so heavily, on being able to spend without clutching on into every penny. I was open to spending, and I think that made such a huge difference in the money energy that I had. Like, years following that, I had this exponential boom, and I think that was one of those pivotal moments where I realized being cheap as hell is not practical. Yes, you can be practical and budget, and you should do that, be practical with your money, but you have all the money to spend, but then you're still holding on. That's a cutoff, it's not a circuit. So I think that was also pivotal for me. But you were already practicing when I wasn't practicing abundance those days, but then you didn't realize that you were practicing it.
And something you said, it reminded me, like when we talk about abundance, right? So for example, when you're flying, do you hold yourself back from spending that extra 1,000 or 2,000 maybe on that airline seat, where you have a little bit more leg room, or you get extra carrying allowance, as in more kilos that you can carry with you, kind of a thing, right? So that, I think, that was the beginning of my journey. Like, you met me towards the end of that year. That somewhere around March, April was where things started to kind of shift of 2019, where I said, okay, it's one thing to talk abundance, the other is to actually practice it. It's in these little things that, when you start practicing it, that's also in a way like sending out those ripples, and it's
a way of overcoming your self-concept. Because see, my dad is telling me, he's like, what, we can stay in luxury. I'm like, but we'll be training up until so late at night. I'm only going to sleep, right? Although I never slept, because our trainings were so intensive. I didn't sleep. But I was like, just to put my head on a pillow, I was cheaping out. But years later, I figured this out. That time, that your self-concept is showing when you are not, when you can spend and you're still not spending, you're still holding on to that old I'm cheap, I can't spend, the money will run out, scarcity mindset. But you're practicing, and this is because this is not like a advice to spend money that you don't have. This is advice to pull yourself up, to live luxuriously when you can, so you're not holding on to the old self-concept, but you can actually come up with the new self-concept. Who knows who might relate to this?
In fact, I was just doing one of the exercises today, and what was that? One of your affirmations, I forget the exact terminology, but basically something that you had said, to practice, or
in
your
the
daily
90 days
practices. So the one I wrote for today was, the more I spend, the more I get back.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the truth, because when you spend, it creates a vacuum, and the universe comes to fill up the vacuum. So it is. It's a fact. It's a universal law.
And it's been around for a very long time. It's like, it's very easy to dismiss it when you try to, like you said, the more you try to hold on to what little that you have, and it's very counterintuitive, right? Like, it doesn't mean that you have to splurge on what you don't have, but it's literally I think the difference is when you're doing it with that faith. That I'm paying out.
Come back. You're going.
It will come back. Yeah. So
talk about your successes. So what was your biggest money results so far in? Let's just say since you came for our December program. I saw a lot. I mean, you were flooding our group with everyday successes. Money's coming here, money's coming there. I got this client. Tell me more about that journey since you joined the program.
Yeah, I think if I look at it in reverse, which means present and going backwards, right? The biggest shift is in valuing myself, and also in the same breath, being able to create an environment for others to be able to experience that value. So it's I think the big shift is it's no longer about, hey, I've spent the last 15 years and so much of money on myself, so I can really help you. Moving to, I'm going to create a space for you to be able to experience that change. So then when we talk about, creating that program for you or that plan for you, and I say, this is my fee, it's like a no-brainer.
Yeah, yeah, because
So
it's also an
so
energetic shift.
exactly,
It's no longer give and take, it's more of a experiential like, thing. And so now you've gone
exactly,
deeper into what your service is and valued it in its
exactly.
depth than it is just a transaction. So
Yeah.
I still want to know the results. So what is the biggest financial result that you got over the last
Uh, so I closed two clients in Jan, in like multiple lakhs, which usually would not happen. Firstly, in the same month. So I'm going back to your question. Uh, to be able to close two clients in 1 month, where I had begun focus, with focus working, where we would do, the sessions, which was in December, and then going into Jan. Like for me, that was like a direct correlation. That yes,
Mhm.
of course, there is the pre-work, the years, even that we have worked together. Where like I said, I did your one-on-one sessions. I even did your the MMNC program, the 5 days a week, showing up at 5 a.m. So I know at one level it's a culmination of everything, and yet specifically, I could feel that there was that shift. Like in December, it was 3 days a week of showing up
Wow.
for class at 5 a.m. the live class, right? And it's also the deep work between sessions. I think that combination is like you said. It's like now going deeper is effortless, and it's a no-brainer, right? Like
You pulled
typically,
your self concept and your self value
yeah.
and followed that up, and that
Oh
is
yeah.
what's allowed you to move to a point where you can charge multiple lakhs per client.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, but also you were having, I remember this one experience, you had this
Hmm.
inspired idea that hit you for a program.
Oh,
And then and
so
then you took inspired action, and then within
yeah,
like the hour you had like sales come in.
exactly. For me, it was one of the meditations in December, that in December last year, and I just finished my meditation, and I had in fact recorded an affirmation. And after that, I was doing a little bit of meditation, and it just came to me that, hey, you know what? I'm sure this is something that will benefit other people. And because obviously, I had spent the last couple of years learning about systems and, how do you, edit things and how do you, package it and stuff like that. Obviously, all that also helped. But it was literally in like 30 minutes, I had packaged it into like an Audible program. I uploaded it, and then I offer that link to people who know me, who've been sort of, you could say, my community, or people who have worked with me before. And in, I think, like the next 10 or 15 minutes, I had about 3 sales.
Yeah.
Right? I'm talking specifically about, like you said, that inspired action, because I hadn't thought about it the night before. I hadn't thought about it when I showed up for my meditation, right? But literally before 7 o'clock, I had gone from doing an activity which was specific to that day's sort of fine tuning to actually creating something that is of value to other people.
Right.
And the beautiful part about these products is that they stay on, they live on. It's like the videos that you're making. It's literally for years together. It
Yeah,
will
yeah, yeah.
continue
Full
to
assets. Yeah.
serve other people and serve you as well. So for me, that was a great like a aha moment that, okay, this is how it's done.
Hmm.
Because sometimes it can be very seductive when you watch other people's content and you're wondering how are they creating these, like the stories, like even your own story. I still remember it was uh, towards the end of December, and we were talking about numbers, and then suddenly it's like it's going from in 1 year to 1 month to, like, it's possible, right?
Yes, yeah.
and
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 you
it's very
heard that,
important to,
yeah, you heard it. People saying, "Eh, you can earn your yearly income in a month," and then one day it becomes
exactly.
like, oh, isn't that normal? Like we can keep pulling down a
Exactly.
tree. You can earn a month's thing in a day. Isn't that normal? We
Yeah.
can keep pulling down. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah. And like you said, for me to be able to experience that is, is proof that there is change that's happening,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, a lot of times it's like literally saying, like today if I look at, like I was talking to a client just and she's like, yeah, now, yeah, 500 rupees an hour, I don't even think about it. Like 3,000 bucks an hour is, it's like, yeah, that's like the median,
Normal. It's your
right?
energetic
But
minimum.
but the funny thing is that when you will also be at that point where 500 bucks gives you the willies, like you're
Yeah, yeah.
literally
You will go
doing
through that
somersaults
process.
inside, like who will pay
Who will
me
pay
this
me?
money? That
Yeah. Yeah, you will go through that
so
process. Yeah.
so it is really powerful, and it's so important to step in and allow for things to happen, and of course show up and do the work. I mean, there is no no two ways about that,
Yeah.
right? That willingness to align and then doing the work,
Yeah.
and then yeah, there will be these miracles
I just
along the way.
wanna I just wanna interject here when you said willingness
Hmm.
to align. Do you remember the webinar Align to Abundance? You came for the webinar in
Hmm.
November.
Hmm.
So, in the webinar, for those who are still with us, we have the same webinar coming up on the 13th of this month, March. We also have it on the 20th and 27th, so you can attend any one of those. We're talking about ways to align yourself to abundance, and in that webinar, you were there. I spoke about my family background, and that's also where we connected with the defense thing, which I didn't even know up
Mm.
until this call that
Mm.
you come from a defense background too. And in that class I talk about my journey of alignment, like how he was talking about the process that I went through and the results that I got. And we also talk a lot about self concept, which is also coincidentally exactly what you did. Is you pulled up your value, you pulled up your self
Yeah.
concept, you decided to make it an overall experience for your client and you in part of the
Mm.
equation. You finally decide to look at money as part of your business equation than just the skills. So all of that is in that webinar. I would really recommend people who are still with us thus far, wanting to deepen your experience with money, especially in your business, to come for that webinar. People that you've seen in the success stories, they're all people who've come through the webinars. I really, really recommend you register for it. You'll find the link in the description, and we'll be diving deep into these concepts there, especially if you're a business owner or working with clients in any way, artists, musicians, painters, anybody, consultants. Come for that class. We'll go deep into all of these things to align yourself to abundance. Yes, go ahead.
And I have to say that I've already signed up for round two.
Round two of
What
the current course, batch two, you already
right?
signed up for.
Batch two I've already, because like I said, I've realized that um, like with learning, this is no different as a skill than anything else that you want to master, that you want to flow in. We talk about
Go
overflow,
deeper
right? So
each
it's like
round, yeah.
you simply put, it's like you keep doing it till you get to that point. It's like the, what do they call it, from the unconscious incompetence to the unconscious competence, right? So
Yeah,
it's like you,
yeah, yeah.
right, for you go from unconscious to unconscious to where you're still unconscious but you are competent, which
Yeah.
means uh,
It's a
when
natural
someone
thing
says
to be good at.
it's natural, right? It's like you say, like I'm getting goosebumps as I'm saying this. It's like you talk about, it's abundance is your birthright, right? So it's one thing to say it; it's another thing to
Truly
experience it,
experience it and
to
believe it
really
as a
experience it, right?
natural experience. It, like I said, unconscious competence. There will come a point where you go from, like you said, one day you're getting the willies to charge 500 rupees to your client, and then one day it's like so simple and normal. One day you get the willies to charge 10,000 rupees to your client because it's valuable. You're not just like throwing numbers in
Exactly,
the air. You are packaging
exactly.
it to value for that. But then one day it comes to a point where it's so natural. It's like a natural. You can't even imagine life being any other way. And that
Yeah.
is the shift of unconscious
Mm.
incompetence to unconscious competence.
It's like even our own journey, right? We met to, uh, I've done now three different versions of what you have to offer, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that, and now the fourth. So
The
it's
fourth. For someone who's still with us and listening to this interview, and is struggling in their business financially, but they don't get inspired ideas and suddenly have like clients pop up or charge people lakhs, and they would love to be in that space but they're not. What advice would you give them?
I would say two things. One, definitely, look for a support system. And this is like what you've created and what you're offering people is definitely one such example. Obviously, there are many, but the point is, if something has brought you here this far, and you're vibing with the conversation, and obviously, if you're here at this point listening to this, that means there's something that kind of connected, or
Yeah.
a lot more that connected. So, definitely, from personal experience, I can tell you, and being an entrepreneur. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur for like almost close to 2 decades. It is a very, very lonely profession, right? So having like-minded people, having people who you can stay in the same energy with, and having somebody who can lead you through that process. And that's where, like for me, I'm very, very picky about who I work with, who I get coached by, and I know for a fact that a lot of that has to do with, on a daily basis. We're all human, but on a daily basis, you're like doing things to continue to align yourself even deeper to who you are, to your source. And having somebody who you can, work with, right? Having a coach who can help you through that is definitely one of the ways to literally get onto that path where you can. I mean, and that's why we've all become entrepreneurs, right? We want to live our lives, our dreams come true, sort of a thing, right? That's why we want to do this and not work for somebody else, right? So it's important that you have somebody who can hold that space for you. And I mean, hats off to you, because through different phases you've been there to create that space where, I mean, I've been at points been like totally lost, and you were there to hold that space for me to be able to tune
Wow.
back into my own my core, my the universe and me, that connection, right? For me to refine that connection. So if you're in that place right now where you're lost, definitely this is one space for you to test out. I think that's, and even this, it's like you were surprised, I think, when I said, hey, yeah, I'm and it was 21/11/21, the
Oh,
day
you know the
I
date.
that's one of those numbers that, for whatever reason, if you believe in numbers, it just kind of like stuck. It was in hindsight, it's like, oh yeah, 21/11/21. Interesting. Maybe there's something there. I remember saying that. He's like, hey, yeah, I've signed up and see you live, and you're like, oh, you're coming. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
So,
it's really interesting when in this course, in the 4 week abundance, well, actually 4 month abundance, I am so surprised that people during my engagement they sent me a lot of gifts, and I was thinking, and I saw these names, and I said, I know this person from 15 years ago. I did like an internship with this person. Oh, I know this person is a TV celebrity. I mean, I know this person. How are they in my course? I didn't even know, some
yeah,
when you showed up and you're like, oh, I'm like, seriously, like you're also
yeah.
in this course. It's fabulous. Yeah.
So definitely, if you're struggling, it's this is this is something that I would, again, because
So
I've been it and I
community and
will be there.
coaching, community
Yeah,
coaching, guidance,
community
so someone to hold
coaching
space for you. Yeah.
and space,
Yeah.
because it's very overwhelming being an entrepreneur. I mean, it's literally you're thinking about your business 24/7. People think it's like that. What people think, what my parents think, what my friends think,
What
and
I
what I'm actually doing as an entrepreneur. Whatever, whether it's in the art space or creative space.
yeah.
So having somebody who's able to hold that space for you, and for you to literally find your own voice, and find find that connection again with your maker, with your
Yes, so true.
with the universe, with
Mhm.
your inner guidance. I think that uh, highly recommended. So
Super.
like I
And
said, I will be there at one of the webinars, but
you'll be there.
watching and you know sending my own good
Yeah.
wishes. But yeah, it's I'm looking forward to you know uh, season 2 or version 2.0, and see how much more I'm able to
Oh yeah, and
draw in. And
which is so interesting. When I was telling the current batch members about joining the upcoming batch, I was thinking, okay, the content's going to be pretty much similar. You're basically
Hmm.
like joining because you want to stay in the 5 a.m. Vibes, you want to stay in the money vibes, you want to keep going deeper into the knowledge. Because the first time you go through a course, you learn 20%. And then the next time
Yeah.
you go deeper and you go deeper.
Hmm.
But then
Hmm.
yesterday, I remember there is a thing called pre work in the course. And pre work,
Yeah.
you have to submit a form. And I had to read
Oh,
out
I
the
love
form and I
that.
put that. And I said, there's going to be new questions. That means there's
Yeah.
going to be new content. There's going to be deeper knowledge than ever before. And as I'm learning in my journey through the different coaches that I have connected with around
Yep.
finances, I have so much more that will come into the next batch, which basically means that I evolve.
Hmm.
I teach newer things to the students as well. So yeah, now batch number 2 is going to be the evolution of batch number 1.
And thanks for reminding me. I had completely forgotten about pre-work till you mentioned it. That I think if you had a question earlier about, tell us about your successes and like, how did it all happen? Basically, like, how did it happen? I mean, numbers is one thing, but how did it happen? That really is where everybody wants to know, right? Everybody wants to know, how can I replicate
Yeah.
what that person did? Like, that's really what people want to know, right? I think for me, as I said, one was the date, 21/11/21. That was it, again, time and place. But more importantly, I think I signed up on the 21st and 22nd itself, which was a Saturday or a Sunday, I forget now. I actually sat and did the pre-work.
Mm.
Like at one go, I sat and finished. Oh yeah, it was on a Saturday. I sat and finished the pre-work, and then on Sunday, because there was like a bonus course at that point that was part of what my batch what we had done. So I actually sat. It was almost like a 3-hour workshop. I did that on Sunday,
Yeah.
like
Mm.
non-stop. It was like,
It
oh,
was
it was Sunday
it
and
was
Monday.
it was
I think Saturday was your webinar. Sunday I sat and finished the pre-work, and on Monday it was like I
block
kept
super abundance. That was the one, the workshop.
exactly,
Yeah. Mm.
exactly. So I actually sort of literally like I was already in the flow, and we still had about 7 days before we started on the 1st of December. So day on day I could notice there were changes. By the third day I said, oh yeah, okay, if I'm anyway going to be waking up 3 days a week and meaning before 5 a.m. because the class was at 5. So somewhere there itself I started to make shifts. I would wake up at 4,
Yeah.
4:30,
Yeah.
and
That's
so
what
I
you
was
meant
already
at
kind of
first.
like pre-training myself. So it wasn't going to be that much. I mean, it's like the code being effortless, right? So in whatever ways that were coming to me in the moment, I was just following through on it. So showing like waking up, showing up for class, and playing full out. Like that literally became the. If you ask me, that was like
That's right.
elements of the secret sauce. That's why December was what it was. That's
Yeah.
why Jan was what it was.
Yeah, and I
So.
remember, I mean, of what I've seen, you, Sudhir, all these people, firstly, you guys in class itself, I saw how
Mm.
focused you guys were. When it came to the, like, at the end of every class, we would dance, like, to celebrate the energy, we would, like, bring up the
Mhm.
vibration. You guys are, like, standing up, going to the back of the room, jumping up and down, and, like, and then doing the homework. And see, I think that is what you meant, when I said, what advice would you give people? And you said there are two parts. First is get your support system. I think the second part is whatever knowledge you gain related to your abundance or whatever work you're
Yeah.
doing, you play full out. And I
Yeah.
think one thing Rahul has done over the last 20 years is he's played full out. Whatever he studied, he practiced, he practiced, he practiced, he practiced. And it's 20 years in the
Yeah.
making.
Yeah.
That is the secret sauce. I mean, I would say the same thing with me. I really like, I have this book, it's all over there, but
Mhm.
I have done so much inner work consistently for so long that it has become a default unconscious incompetence to unconscious competence. But I worked
Yeah.
on a process. I didn't give up anytime in between and say, okay, it's not working, law of attraction not working, I'm mad at law of attraction. I got up the next day and I started anyway, and I worked on it anyway because healing was a big part of
Yeah.
it. So I
Yeah.
think I think we'll end with that
Yep.
advice with the people. So for those who are still with us, I would again invite you to come for the Align to Abundance class. It is where these guys started their journey, and we're talking about thousands of people who started their journey, especially if you're doing business of any form. So I recommend that you come for the class. It is happening on the 13th, and then on 20th and 27th. You can attend any one of them. Register in the description. Would you recommend people to come for that class as well?
Absolutely. In fact, I wanted to attend 13th because I'm like literally wanted to get it fresh off, but I've already signed up for part of my
Crash
own
course.
learning. Like
Yeah.
I'm in the space of, as I say, healing and hypnosis and a whole bunch of mixed things. So that's why I was like, okay, 13th I've already committed. That's
Yeah.
why I've already locked my seat for the 20th. So my point being that
I know.
it's like when you find something good, just go all in. That's really what makes the difference.
Yeah, I felt that.
So,
It was very
yeah,
powerful.
yeah, highly recommended. And again, I'm not just saying it. It's like literally, if you happen to be there on the 20th, or when we start in April, when the course
Yeah,
starts in
those
April,
classes. Yeah. So we
uh,
have,
you know,
we have the webinar where you're going to learn a lot of stuff, and then in the webinar we open up to a program of ours, which is a long-term program. It's so the upcoming batch is 90 days, and that's a long time. It's 3 months of an alignment with money. So and parts of it is live. So all of we kind of open up the door for in the webinar. But the webinar itself has a lot of stuff for you to
yeah,
come and take. So just come take and apply it in your own business. So I think we'll end with that. Any final words you want to share on anything?
so two things. One is, it, I mean, this is how I look at it, right? It's like this work it's literally a journey. So I show up some days at 100%, some days at 50%, some days at 20%. But because I've already told myself it's a journey, there's very little space to feel bad, right? Because even if on a day, for what, I mean, we're humans, so it's like maybe I've tapped into something and I'm like feeling blah on that day. Doesn't matter because I know that my commitment is at 100%. So it's like the awareness of the 20% day is 100%, and that literally cycles through, and then I'm back to 100%, like full on energy and like really into it. So I would say, yeah, um, play full out, like literally, and have fun. I think that
Yeah.
for me, I've enjoyed that. Like you said, the dancing that we would do at the end of
Group, the messages,
yeah, everything. It's like it's literally
the
been a
gifs.
blast. Yeah, yeah. So I'm looking forward to round two.
I also wanted to share that when you're feeling blah and you're feeling down, and there's a beautiful thing I learned from Esther Hicks. She said that when you are feeling negative, you
Mm,
have cut off from the way the source sees you and source
mm,
sees your life and your potential, which I think was the most aha moment that I had recently. Is
mm,
when you're feeling negative, you're not seeing yourself from the eyes of source, which means you're not seeing yourself from the actual lens of who you are, and you're seeing yourself from another lens, which means you have an
mm.
opportunity now to see yourself from the pure, proper perspective.
Yeah,
And that journey is the journey to alignment.
yeah.
So that is that. So thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you Rahul George for sharing your entire process
Thank
and
you.
your journey, and from investing unimaginable amounts of money to charging your clients and giving them a really powerful journey, and wanting to merge the love of the craft with the earning aspect of it, which I think is a
Yeah,
big shift for you, because for 20
yeah.
years you were not doing that. So congratulations on all your successes, and you
Thank
being
you.
a star student of our academy, because every time I open the Telegram group, there's one success story of yours. So I appreciate that, and congratulations. And for those who are
Thank you.
watching, I look forward to seeing you at the webinar, and dive deep into this world of being an entrepreneur. And like you said, entrepreneurs, it's a tough journey, it's a lonely journey, but when you're doing it together and having fun with it,
Yeah,
it just is a best journey to be on. So that's it. Thank you
absolutely.
again, Rahul, and thank you guys
Thank
for
you.
watching. Please comment below what you took back from Rahul's sharing, and I look forward to seeing you guys in another video. Bye, guys.